Good afternoon. How are we doing today? So, I am excited to be on. For those of you who are coming on my page or my channel, my name is Tanika. I'm a self-concept mindset and manifestations coach that likes to teach instant manifestations with the law of assumption and non-dualism consciousness principles, teachings, information. And this is all encompassing of really shifting into your ideal version where you have everything in all things, because you are everything in all things. So that was actually a good slogan. I'm gonna have to like clean that up a little bit so I can just come on with that slogan and we could get into this live. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that I'm on. If you have any questions related to anything that I mentioned throughout this live, feel free to either send a comment, drop a comment, or send me a DM. I'm active on Facebook primarily, YouTube, of course, and especially if you want to send me a DM, Facebook Messenger is going to be your best way to contact me directly. And I do want to talk about the Emotional Self-Regulation Accelerator. So for those of you who are interested in diving deeper into releasing your dysregulation, the Emotional Self-Regulation Accelerator is the very thing that you will need. It is packed with tools, and of course you get one-on-one guidance with me on how to release your dysregulation, because if you are familiar with the emotional releasing of limitations, it can be quite intense. And for those of you who want to get a better understanding and experience on what it actually means to release your false beliefs, your limitations, your dysregulation, this is the program that you want to invest in, because it is really the only solution to that. And from that, you will be able to of course be able to materialize desire instantly and sustainably and consistently. So I cannot wait to hear from you if this is something that you're interested in. I do want to dive into this live because I do have 3 points perspective points that I want to share related to how you can work through shifting outside of dysregulation. And again, I talk about dysregulation, but really what I'm talking about is your false belief materializing as the illusion or the limitation. It could feel, you could feel this dysregulation in your body. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. And I also want to talk about next steps. So like what you might want to start to do in your day to day. And I've spoken about this before, but I'm going to do that toward the end of the live. But I do want to talk about the first point. So the first point is, of course, awareness, right? And I do talk about awareness quite a bit, but there is absolutely nothing you can change if you are not aware of what are the things that you actually want to change, or the things that you're actually going through in relation to how you want to experience change. So awareness is really an important piece. And I know that for many of you, you have heard all of these, oh, well, you have to be awareness, or you have to be aware, you have to be aware, you have to be aware. And what I do want us to sort of wrap our minds around, and I mentioned this as well, is that you want to get aware of what you are aware of. So it is being aware of your awareness, right? Like knowing that you can evolve past what you are currently aware of, which is your dysregulation, your false belief. It could be, again, your lack or scarcity mindset. It could be your abandonment. It could be your neglect. It could be your just overall sense of isolation, and you want to break through that. You want to break through this limitation. And awareness is really important, because when you increase your level of awareness, you can be aware of those inner self dialogues, those thoughts, those behaviors, those, let's say, chemical reactions. And I do want to talk a little bit about that too, because you're not only experiencing the thoughts or the behaviors or like the reactionary aspects of this limitation, you are actually experiencing the emotional and physical aspect of this limitation, which I do want to talk about. So I do want to allow you to sort of ask yourself, like give yourself, these could be prompted questions as well, but this is definitely something that would be right up your alley if you're wanting to increase your level of awareness so that you can start to shift even more into your desired states, your feeling states, your embodiment, is asking yourself, like, you do want to start to get curious. You want to know what your limitation is. You want to know how, thoughts and, maybe those previous experiences have impacted the way that you are behaving and reacting to certain experiences that are happening maybe presently or happening in the future. And of course, you don't want to experience this unfavorable circumstance anymore. So you want to start to get more aware of the things and the thoughts and the feeling states that are perpetuating the same experiences or similar experiences over and over again. If you're noticing patterns and old cycles, awareness is definitely what you want to focus on in this moment in time. And I know I talk about self-regulation, and believe it or not, that's actually the second point. But I want you to know that if emotional self-regulation is not something that you are readily able to tap into, awareness is something that is just so easy to start with, because it is just going to be a better sort of pathway to allow you to then be more regulated on a consistent basis. Because if you don't know what's getting you or keeping you in dysregulation, you don't know what's keeping you in limitation, there's absolutely no way that you can move on to sustaining that regulation once you have come out of dysregulation. So this is why I do want to talk about and put emphasis on awareness itself, because you do want to know what the limitation is, right? Again, when we are in this manifestation space and we're being taught that we have to just repeat this thing over and over again, or again, do the lighting of the candles and the scripting and all of that stuff, all of these techniques, the techniques do work, right? Because they're getting you closer to your desired embodiment and your desired embodiment, right? But what the thing is that we miss is that we think that we can still materialize this thing with doing the techniques with a dysregulated nervous system and emotional body and subconscious mind. And this is why we're not seeing what it is that we want. This is why you're not getting the results, because you think that you can just do the technique and wait and then be in wanting, and that in itself is a false belief, materializing as you still not getting what it is that you want. So if you just were to focus on your awareness, ask yourself, what is this limitation? I wanna start giving you prompts that will allow you to start to get into your body about what the limitation is. Where is the limitation in your body? Because the limitation is not, again, it's not just something in the subconscious mind. It's something that is in your physical body. It's something that resides in your nervous system that you need to release, right? So you might feel tension in your chest, in your neck, in your back. Like you really want to start to get in your body so you could start to feel what it is, the sensation, let's say the energies, the denser energies that you feel when you are going through these inner self dialogues, these thoughts, these feeling states. You want to start to be more aware and maybe even more curious about how you arrive there when you notice these patterns happening over and over again. So when you notice the patterns and you're in dysregulation, use that as an opportunity to ask yourself, how did I get here, right? And if you can answer that question honestly, without explaining yourself to yourself with the thing in mind of, oh, this external thing happened, this is why this is happening over and over again. If you are claiming yourself to be any sort of self-aware, you will know that your external has nothing to do with how you're experiencing life, right? It has everything to do with self, because again, with what Neville Goddard teaches, is that there's nothing to change but self. If you want to shift the way you're experiencing life, if you want to shift your reality, if you want to be materializing on a consistent basis what it is that you want to experience, there is nothing to change but self, right? So if you could get self-aware enough to know the blockages and the like what those limitations are within your body, you will then be able to know what areas to focus on so that you can start to release these limitations, the false belief, the dysregulation, again, the the denser energy forms that are, again, like holding you back and really, again, perpetuating and continuing the old cycles and the old patterns, life patterns. So awareness is a huge piece, right? And hopefully I am explaining this in a slightly different way so that you can get an understanding of why you need to start here. And of course, it just makes sense. Like it's common sense, but common sense is always, it's not always as common as you think, right? So I do want to break that down for you. Is that most of the time when you're feeling limitations or you're feeling self-sabotage, there's something going on in your body that you need to pay more attention to, right? And you need to pay more attention to by a way of perhaps just sitting with yourself and getting more familiar with those feeling states and those energies that are like really holding your physical body in the place that it is right now, because you obviously don't want to reside there anymore. But these are, again, the energies that you want to start to get familiar with, so that once you're going through your breath work, you know that it is making its way out, or you're visualizing the energies that is making its way out of your physical body, your emotional body, nervous system, subconscious mind. I hope you all follow. I hope you all are following right now. So awareness is the first piece, right? Second piece, emotional self-regulation, right? Or emotional releasing. So I just, again, briefly spoke about emotional releasing, and you, by a series of breath work and hopefully visualization, you are experiencing this, this emotion or this energy in your body that's holding you, in your stagnance or in your false belief, in your self-sabotage. And you really want to start to move out of this, right? And we do sort of, in this manifestation community, not talk about the emotional body piece, because I feel like there is just, it's so important to include that, because without the engagement, again, of these feeling states, of these emotional bodies, like states, and the subconscious mind and the nervous system, there's not really a way that you can tap into the version of self that already has your desire. Because if you had your desire, you would be regulated, you would already be experiencing what it is that you want, and you want to get closer to experiencing that internally before it can manifest at all in the external world. So think about it as a mirror, right? There's nothing to change but self, but once you change, you change self, you're essentially changing the cause, and you're becoming the change before it can reflect, because that is law, right? You are becoming the change before it can reflect on the screen of space and time. So emotional releasing and regulation is the next part. And I know that, some of us are still sort of learning about this, and again, or are working through it, and may be able to shift into regulation in certain parts of the day, or maybe into in regulation in certain seasons of the year, or certain days of the month. And I know that if you're a woman, this is different. Like this could be different on a monthly basis, and it is different on a monthly basis because we go through our cycles. This is also going to help you manage those emotions, manage what it is that you need to release, right? If your cycles are, for instance, sync to the moon, right? These are, sorts of like phases and moments where they're perfect opportunities to start to release, emotional release, your dysregulation, your just any sort of thing that you're feeling blocked in, right? And again, if you're feeling like, let's say, any blockages in your chest, you might be experiencing relationship issues, or you might be experiencing any blockage or any tension in your neck where you are not feeling as though you can fully express yourself. Like everything that you are going through in the physical world is directly attached to your emotional body and your nervous system, and how your overall physical body is feeling in any given moment, especially in these states. So awareness is so important, right? And if you need any, again, additional, like, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Just let me know that you have any questions. You could flip me a DM, and of course I'm really good at responding to my DMs in a timely manner. Okay, so don't worry about that. So yes, emotional releasing, that also comes with a series of breath work, visualizations, really feeling as though you are shifting through a series of releasing and resonating more on the side of regulation versus on the side of dysregulation, and feeling not in control of what it is that you actually want to experience, or not in control of what is experienced, what you are already experiencing, whether that be a challenge, obstacle, circumstance, whatever have you. And I do want to share this piece, is that, and it's going to lead me right into my third piece, is that circumstances, none of that exists, right? False beliefs, none of that exists. Limitations, dysregulation, none of this exists, right? It is your subconscious mind and just your programming and your conditioning and just your body, like your physical body conditioning, that is perpetuating the realness, like the illusion that is realness, that that is making it seem real. But when you get into the space of the law of assumption and non-dualism consciousness, what the lines are blurred between what is real and what is not real. Let's just leave it at that, because I don't want to further confuse anybody, right? But getting back to the regulation piece is that you want to start to identify yourself as someone who is regulated. You want to start identifying yourself again, and identity is very closely linked to what I'm mentioning right now, is that your self-identity, your self-concept is going to be the thing that is going to allow you to sustainably maintain this regulation that you're working toward, right? And it is possible to be regulated on a consistent basis. Like if you want to be in a space where you are receiving your desire on a consistent, sustainable basis, you also have to believe that you can be emotionally self-regulated on a sustainable basis, right? And I know that, certain things happen, life circumstances also happen. Again, they don't exist. And what you can start to remind yourself of is the fact that you are regulated, and you can start to assume this, after being aware of this limitation, after knowing how you can release this limitation, and then adopting a new higher, let's say, I don't really like saying higher vibrational, but just, more desirable states, and be able to hold those states on a more consistent and sustainable basis. So the emotional releasing and regulation piece, of course, is a huge part of the emotional self-regulation accelerator. And if you are interested in joining, this will be a great time. This will be a great time to join, as we are heading into just, a new month. We're heading into hopefully new goals and new, feeling states and embodiments, and hopefully when you are shifting, because you are going through shifts no matter what, as you are shifting, you are actually moving into the version of self that has your desire, that is even closer to your desire embodiment, not the other way around, right? So the last point is acceptance. So the last point is internal acceptance. And what that looks like for you is you're actually feeling lighter. You're feeling like you have a, let's say, broader sense of awareness, a broader sense of how you can snap right back into your regulated states versus, staying and dwelling in your limitation, in your false belief. This is all a skill, right? This is all, like, I guess you could say, an emotionally intelligent skill, or an emotional wealth skill, an emotional freedom skill. I talk about this a lot, right? And you really want to tap into those consciousnesses, because if I want to talk about, non-dualism consciousness for a minute, you are these consciousnesses, right? Like your self in the purest form that you are beyond the physical body is consciousness, is energy, right? Is vibration. And so you want to start to get to a space where you are noticing and acknowledging that there is also a if there's an emotional side of you, that there is also a physical formless side of you as well. And this is all an energy thing, right? So when we tap into the non-dualism consciousness, we are becoming aware of who it is that we actually are, right, to a certain degree, and what it is that we actually want to return back to, which is everything and all things. And so when you start to materialize from this place, really, like, nothing is going to limit you, because you already know who you are, what you are, where you come from, how to materialize from a space of being versus a space of wanting, doing, and waiting, right? So acceptance is a huge part of manifestations, and you really want to get to a space where you don't have to get any sort of physical validation or any external validation on what it is that you know that you have, because that in itself is going to knock you into, if you are depending on the external, that in itself is going to knock you back into dysregulation. So acceptance, emotional releasing and regulation, and then, wait, did I say acceptance first? So again, no particular order, but I do feel like in this case, it does have to be in this order, because you cannot get to other forms of awareness and consciousnesses without being first aware of where you are right now in relation to what it is you want to experience. So yes, awareness, emotional releasing and regulation, and then acceptance, right? Really accepting that version of self. Because if you could think of yourself as this non-dualism consciousness formless person or formless energy, that you could tap into really any other energies that are out there, whether that be wealth, whether that be harmony, whether that be balance, whether that be freedom. You could tap into those energies and become one with those energies, because guess what? Now you're formless, versus if you were in physical form and you're operating out of and materializing out of and manifesting out of your physical world, then that's where, again, you're going to continue to experience dysregulation, because you are not fully materializing from a space of already being what it is that you want to experience. So I intend that this was very good and definitely what you needed as you are working through your regulation. I do have a masterclass happening this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would love to have you. It's going to be on YouTube Live. So we'll be going live again this Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about instant manifestations, the law of assumption, and of course, non-dualism consciousness, and you just tapping in, because there's really nothing that you have to invent when it comes to materializing from this space. You are already everything. So all you have to do is maintain that embodiment, maintain that version of self that you know has everything and all things, because you are already all of it. You are already all of it. So the awareness piece is going to tie in perfectly, because once you know that perhaps you have been lacking in a particular awareness, that you already have this particular thing, you're just sort of bridging the gap between your awareness so that you can be and experience what it is that you want to experience. Okay. And again, the sky is not even the limit. Like, you really are able to experience everything and all things without holding back. And this is, again, what I teach in the Emotional Self-Regulation Accelerator, if you were interested in joining me one-on-one. So otherwise, I cannot wait to see you on Saturday. It's going to be juicy, as all of them are, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Cheers.